Hello everyone. I Muhammad Suman Mullah Selim welcoming all of you to Classroom Presents the Tech Talk. It's our fourth episode today, and we have a very special guest today. We have Chema today with us. Hi Chema, how are you doing?
Hello there. I'm doing pretty good, thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Chima, for making time. And those who are joining our live session today, you already know that today's discussion topic is mostly try to cover or talk about PHP, its future, and how we are using PHP, what's coming up in the upcoming days, and how actually you can be a good PHP developer, and we'll also discuss about the best practices, couple of principles during this session. So, Chema, can you please give us an introduction about yourself, that what you are doing? Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Hello everyone. Thank you so much first of all for the opportunity and for the chat. Basically, this is gonna be a. I think we have pretty interesting topics. I saw some questions already, and they are really interesting. Myself, well, I started in this software world around don't know 6, 7 years already. I think.
Uh-huh.
I started like in 2013 when I finished my studies in Spain. I'm from Spain, so I studied there like um, two I don't know how to say studies, two
Uh-huh.
different grades. The first one was about mostly about multi-platform, so it was focused on Java and Oracle
Okay.
SQL. Um, and the second one was about web applications, so it was focused more on PHP. So the good thing about that for me, it was especially that coming from a background of OOP, a strong type of language like Java, I for me it was writing PHP, uh, writing already with using objects, not just scripting. So it helped me a lot to go into OOP into with PHP really easily. And I
Mhm.
remember when I started working there using Symfony 1.4. It
Ah.
was really nightmare and really really complicated
Mhm.
to get it. I remember I did the tutorial and the book, but in that time I did it like twice because it was super, yeah,
Like
not so
complex
easy to
at the
follow.
first glance.
Yeah, yeah. Now things have changed a lot, a lot. But yeah, back in the time, it was really interesting. I was learning also, yeah, JavaScript and everything on the web related. Somehow, I don't know, Destiny somehow just make me be like full-time backend developer,
Mhm.
being full-time PHP. Yeah, I was working like in Spain like a year more or less, and then I jumped into Germany.
Mhm.
Did my Erasmus, and then I got the opportunity to come to Berlin. And then since then, I'm here since I think 2015, ending 2015. I'm in Berlin. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, I would like to let the audience know that Chema is my colleague at Seven Senders GmbH, and he's working there as software developer. Though we work at different teams, but yeah, we are working at the same company. So Chema, can you give us some of your like experience, that how you are working at Seven Senders and how is it going?
Yeah, sure. Well, we work at the beginning. Yeah, the things have changed a lot, but
Yeah.
basically we became now more. We learned a lot about agile principles and Scrum. So at the beginning, we say we did a Scrum sort of, but now we are doing better Scrum than before. Let's say it's Scrum, but at the end is an something that evolves. It's evolving with the
Mhm.
time
Yeah.
because it's need to adapt to the team. There is no perfect scrum for everybody. So every team need to adapt their principles, their values. They need to find their values. They need to find how do they want to work, and then they need to work according their values because every team has different people with different experiences, different point of views, and they need to adapt this, right? So
Yeah.
right now we are working with I think pretty standard
Yeah.
2 week sprints.
Yeah.
We do the the plannings, the daily standards every day.
Mhm.
We do planning once per sprint, and then at the end we do the retrospective, which I consider really really important. because then you learn from the failures that you have done during the 2 weeks, so you try to don't do them again. So I think it's really important to work on this little mistakes that everybody, every team has it
Yeah.
somehow.
I agree with you. And what is your like technology stack, or what are the tools technology you are using there?
Yeah, basically, we work with PHP 7.2 currently.
Uh-huh.
We have a project. We have some project. We have a project in 7.2. The core one is in 7.2, and then we have another one which is also is the core of the core actually now.
Uh-huh.
It's
Yeah.
7.3. It's in 7.3, and I think we will. I hope we will migrate it to 7.4 soonish. I think it's not gonna be so hard to do it. But yeah, we will talk about versions and PHP later for sure.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, we'll then like just start the session, and we already have like couple of questions from the audience. So we'll first start about the like as both of us have been working with PHP for long, I would say maybe more than 6 or 7 years right now.
Mhm.
So we would like to know that what's your opinion about PHP, or how do you think as a language, or do you like PHP, and what is the future of PHP? And we know that after PHP 5.7, PHP has been like improving very gradually, and lots of new features that we can get in other languages now we can get in PHP. So what's your like experience with PHP, if you can share some insights?
Yep, I remember I started with PHP 5.6. Yeah, back at that time was 5.6,
Yeah.
and I remember we can agree on that. By that time, PHP was getting really off. Not really off, but in the meanwhile, a lot of languages like Java, for example, or I'm not gonna name them, but a lot of languages were developing, and then another
Mhm.
new were being created, and so on. PHP is still in the 5.6, and I don't know. I didn't know why. I mean, I just accepted at some point. It's like, well, I'm here, I'm starting, so it's okay. Now I think I can do some retrospective, and I can see that, and I am aware that the version 6, because at some point the
Yeah.
version 7 came, right, and then you start
Yeah.
thinking, what the fuck? Why we are working in 5.6, and now it came the 7. What happened with the 6?
Six, right?
uh,
Yeah.
and then what happened there, it was that they were working actually in the version 6, but it was not released. That's the point. And because it was abandoned, because they were changing too many things, and none of them, and some of them, I think some of them, they were not working properly, and they got some delay, and it was causing more problems than improvements.
Yeah.
So at some point they decided to not release it and focus on a new version again. And then instead of naming the new version coming the 6, they
Mhm.
decided to name it 7 to make it explicit that it's not the version 6.
Yeah.
And that's why it was so, it was a bit delay, I would say, than expected. But even though version 7, it became, I think at the end, and in December of 2015, at the end of 2015 already, 5 years or
Yeah, it's
4 years, it became the 7, which is now obsolete since actually 1.5 years. And then the version 7 came with a lot of huge potential, which I remember I was working in
yeah.
the one company when I came to Berlin, the first company. I came into Berlin. It was the first time I was working with we did the migration from the 5.6 to the 7, and then I
Mhm.
remember the speed was increased by three times faster or 4 times faster. It was really incredible. It was really, oh wow, I didn't expect this. So it's like with the version 7 PHP. I feel that came into the game again, like a strong
Mhm.
player. And it could not be because in that time I think it was also created the hack language from Facebook,
Yeah.
which they include. Basically, I was really interested about that in that time, because PHP was still in the version 5. It was still really low, too dynamic, right? You cannot define types basically.
Yeah.
And then in the hack language, you could define types and return types, and the types were really interesting in that time. And plus some other feature that I don't need, we don't need to name now, but a lot of feature, let's say. And
Yeah.
then version 7 came with a lot of these features that the hack language included. And
Yeah.
then the hack language lose a lot of interest from a lot of PHP developers, let's say. And then the version 7 started to release. You can feel now that the PHP ecosystem and the community, they are really working on features, and they are really deploying, and they are really working on them. So right now, the current version of PHP is the 7.4,
Yeah.
and I doubt that 7.4 is on, sadly, is on the servers and the in production servers, because that's another thing. We will talk about that later, because
Yeah.
I don't really get this really well. But right now, if we are conscious about this, the reality, the current version is 7.4, uh, and I think most of the versions are still there. Mostly are 7.2,
Yeah.
and
True.
actually the 7.2 is getting deprecated, is getting obsolete at the end of this year, I think. Yeah,
Yeah.
in November or December of 2020, is getting, yeah, they don't support it anymore. So then we are in the 7.3. But yeah, so we need to also be super conscious that the important thing, or one of the main points here to see that the PHP future is really interesting, is that PHP 8 is coming in December 2020. So I'm not one of the contributors, but I'm really following the trends and the news and the
RFCs
suggestion,
or these things.
the
Yeah.
RCs that are getting the pools that are getting created, and the conversations that the people has there, the developers that are doing, and they are really interesting features. Plus of course, the speed, that I believe is gonna be some speed improvement. I don't,
Mhm.
I doubt it's gonna be so much, but a little bit is always fine and nice to have. But there are new features, like for example, annotations are coming natively in PHP, and some other interesting features and functions that yeah. And so yeah, I don't know. I think is the future for PHP is really interesting to say, and the current version that we have there, the speed, and the functionality that it provides to you right now is
Yeah.
really a competitive one.
Yeah, yeah, I can see like that the PHP 8 is coming later, like almost at the end of this year, and there are like lots of new things coming up which we are missing. Like we know that PHP is a very dynamically typed language, and now these features are coming on. So when you are using like any static type language, we can actually now use all those features in PHP now, and more
Yes.
these kind of features are coming up. Like I can see that from the RFC that a static return type is coming up. There's already return type is available for classes, methods. So yeah, like when we started to work with PHP back in, like I started when it was PHP 5.4, there are lots of things that was not available there. Trait was not there,
Mm.
namespace was not there, but now we can see that uh, whatever like any modern language needs, we can see that in PHP. And yeah, so from your opinion, I would like to know that how do you think like that do you think like PHP is enough mature at the moment? And like as you said, you have worked with Java, and I know that right now you are again working for Java. For sometimes I have worked with Java, Python, and Node.js. So do you miss functionalities like that you have used in other languages? So what's your opinion about that, and how do you think like that PHP's future is moving to?
Yeah. Actually, about the missing functionalities, that I got a really strong. I was really missing something in PHP until 7.4.
Uh-huh.
Actually, the idea of, actually, with the 7, with the types, that you can define the types of the arguments and the types of the return value in the function.
Yeah.
This provides you some security and subtype checking in runtime, and
Yeah.
because there is no compilation, right? But you
Yeah.
can cover with unit tests, for example, the code, and then you can ensure that the code is working properly with the proper types. Otherwise, it's not running at all. Um, so actually, I remember one of, I have some. So the first one, and the one that I think most of the PHP people uh, were happy about, is I think I will, for me at least, okay, I will talk about me, is the type properties. I think the type properties are really interesting, and not to make them public and to assign them directly values, but just to allow you to to get the code more straightforward by the code itself. For example, because if when you create a class and you define the properties there, you don't know which type is that property, right? So you write some PHP doc block above, and you did say that this a bar is a string, or is a bar is an integer, or this bar is an object, right? But now with these type properties, you don't need this
That dot blocks or
this
things.
this dirty line there, exactly, which at the end is just a bit noisy. It's something that helps you and helps your ID to know the type of that variable. So it provides you the help of the function and the functionality that you can use while using that property, let's say, right? But by having the type property just as the code level, so if it's wrong, it's gonna crash. It's not gonna get it ignored. So you cannot have obsolete PHP doc blocks, right, or comments. It needs to be updated. So this is also important. Another one which I think is also even nicer. Personally, I find the arrow functions. I think arrow functions are really beautiful, and they are really on. They came a bit late, or because by that time Java already got arrow function. Java, which is a really it was one of the most OOP I knew.
OP-oriented language,
Yeah, object-oriented language with arrow functions is like, what the fuck? For me, I think it was 2016 or 15 when I saw this, and then it was like, wow, what is this in Java? Arrow functions. And then I was really, because by that time Scala was the language which was based on Java, running in JVM, which got arrow functions, some sort of, right? And then that's what I got really in. I was actually learning Scala because it's got Java with arrow function and with some functional paradigm as well. And I was really interested about the Scala. And I'm not really professional, just learning some philosophy and some. And it's even more complex than Java, right? But then and then Java incorporated this arrow function, and then I think PHP somehow needed to have it as well, because it's a functionality which, if you have used it, you will realize that the powerful of the reducing the verbose of the code. It's really interesting to use it, especially for example, the arrow underscore functions. Yeah, the native PHP functions to manipulate arrays. For example, the array functions to array filter, array map, array chunk, array split, whatever. You just pass an arrow function before you pass an anonymous function, which is a function without name. Now you don't need to even provide the return value. You just need to say fn, the argument, and then arrow, and then the return value it goes there, right? It's just in one line. Before you needed at least minimum 3 lines. So the verbosity is getting nicer. It's getting smaller. So these are type properties and arrow function are really interesting. They are, of course, some. I think they have also null coalescing assignment operator, which is an extra. Yeah, you can see that, but it's like the null coalescing operator, but with an assignment. So if you don't have that,
it just checks and assigns at the same time.
So and then another one which I really like it is the unpacking inside arrays. This is I think it's a copy from JavaScript, or maybe JavaScript copy from somewhere else. But at the end, it's all of them, they are copying each other. But I saw first of all, I saw it from JavaScript. And then they include it in PHP. That's why I say they copied. I don't know who copied whom, right? I don't care. But the important thing, I mean, we have it now. Before we have this anti 7.4. Before, what there is you can you cannot unpack an array, but you can do something similar, but not really unpack arrays. I forgot the name to do that. Do you know what I mean? Is to
What?
variadic arguments.
Variadic arguments. I
Yeah,
guess.
I think.
Yeah.
But this is the, but this
Okay.
is
Yeah,
the,
the spread operator you are talking about.
yes, I was talking about that spread operator. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. But this is, I think this is another level. This is a level up there. It's like I said, like
Yeah,
a
I
bot
first also
doing.
used that in JavaScript, and now I see that it's also available in PHP. Yeah, and with
Exactly.
this feature, I really
Yeah.
like that. Yeah, it's very good. It's very good. Yeah, so there's an interesting question. Like when you were talking about PHP, how it was growing. That we know that Facebook is like mainly using PHP for their platform, and they had their own version of PHP, which we know as like HHVM, or they named it as Hack. So someone just asked that, like, why Facebook created their own version instead of like just contributing to the main PHP language and make it more robust or powerful. Why they created another version? What's your opinion on that?
Exactly. I have only an opinion because I don't know.
Yeah.
The honest answer I can give you is I have no idea why, but I can
Mhm.
guess. But
Yeah.
I might be wrong. So I think by that time, when that language, I think, as I said before, when the hack came, we had we were still in the five. I don't know exactly in the 5.4, 5.5, 5.6, but there.
Mhm.
And by that time, PHP it was really easy to have a really in a spaghetti mode, in really non really too dynamic, I would say, too
Yeah.
easy to fuck up something. And then I think Facebook, I don't know why they didn't want to contribute to PHP, and rather they created their own fork of PHP. They named it Hack. Um, but what they did clearly,
Yeah.
they introduced type checking, and on top of that,
Yeah.
you can go to their page and then try, right, and you can see. Uh, which feature you can see, because at the end right now, if you go to Hack right now and you go to page and you try 7.4, PHP 7.4 is the same more or less. I
Yeah.
think a Hack, they have generics which I miss in PHP a little bit. You can get it with Pesan or PHP Stone, I think, but nevertheless, the features are more or less the same. So the Hack, they were to some type checking language with the
Mhm.
flexibility of and also I think also about performance. It might be about performance. I
Uh-huh.
think they improve because yeah, I remember now that they increased the performance a lot, and then with comparing with the 5.6, right? With
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
PHP
Then
5.6,
7
but
came, and
when
rewrite of the
exactly, and
PHP
then
engine was done,
exactly
and
when
we
the
got.
7 came, the
Yeah.
Hack exactly the PHP was here. Hack came. It was type check out, and then it was faster. But then this PHP 7 came, then it became again the same.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So I believe that Facebook, because they are Facebook, they are like the monster that we know as Facebook. There is a
Yeah.
lot of good and bad things, whatever. The enterprise as itself, they decide that they wanted to have something faster and more robust,
Yeah. Yeah.
faster than PHP by that time. So they invest, I believe, they invest tons of money and time thinking and creating that thing, that fork of PHP. And they did it. So they managed in that time, Hack was better than PHP,
Yeah.
but not a lot of people knew about that, right? And then PHP was developing
Yeah. It was a bit
slower
kind of
than,
stuck or slow. Yeah.
but they keep going. They were there, and some point eventually they came, and then they came into the same level. I don't know, maybe faster or same level.
It
let's
was
let's call let's
almost
say level.
close. Yeah. It was
It
almost
was
close.
close enough that you don't need to care. As PHP developer, you don't care anymore about Hack, because
Yeah.
everything that has us, you have it with PHP, so you don't need to even bother about that, about the French root language, let's say.
Yeah. Yeah.
And still, PHP nowadays is one of the most usage in the web. There are, of course, there are a lot of languages, whatever, but
Yeah.
come on. Even I don't like WordPress. I don't like Joomla. I don't like these CMSs
CMSs.
that are there. I don't like it. Uh, I have I mean, personal reasons, whatever. But I and we need to agree that they are one of the they domain the web. They rule the web kind of because they are so easy to use for the user experience, not to develop. Develop is another story. But for the user experience, it's so easy to have one, to install it and just go for it. You have a blog for yourself. You have a page for your company. It's just use it. You need 1 hour and you are done. There is nothing else because the basic things, the pages, the posts, the comments, the users, they're there, and then plugins for everything.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You just need to use it. So they root the web somehow. But of course, to develop an app, okay, you need something else. You need to develop the app. You cannot use a CMS. For starting everything, you can start it with a CMS. Let's say any business that doesn't require any complex business logic. But
Yeah.
if you want to go above that, then you need something special. Then you need to develop your logic, business logic, and for that, then you should use other things. Yeah. Let's go to the next
Yeah,
topic.
I agree with you. And my guess is like that Facebook worked on their own version of PHP rather than like a starting contributing to the original language. That could be like that. Facebook is a like
Mm,
company. They things they
exactly.
need to like develop things faster. There are a couple of things they need to go on to like have compliance with their own organization, because in open source we know if they really want to contribute there, so they will need to first make it as a proposal. The community members and the PHP core contributors have to approve it, then they can actually move forward with those things. So as a company you can't actually wait for this community involvement or sometimes like their recommendation or approval. As a company you need to move fast as per your business need. But I think that's why Facebook tried on their own. They made experiments, they used it in their own infrastructure, and when they saw that yeah it's working fine, or they have made something that would be beneficiary for the community, then I think they released. And I can see that after Facebook released the hack version, I saw that the PHP community was very much into that thing. They were studying hack and trying to later implement some of the features that came into hack, and now we can find it in PHP's original version. That could
Yeah,
be
I completely agree. I
uh,
completely agree. I think
yeah,
is that's the point. The company itself need to look for themselves, and they
yeah,
cannot be waiting for the language and the lack of technology that the language got that by that time.
yeah,
Because
yeah, yeah,
Facebook, don't forget it. Facebook was written in PHP at the very beginning
yeah, yeah,
by
yeah,
Zuckerberg, and then everything was on top of this PHP page, right?
yeah.
And at some point, I think that they came with this lack. I mean, this is lacking us
Settings
somehow.
that
We
the
need to improve it somehow,
language was
and
not
we can
having. Yeah,
and we cannot buy the language, right?
yeah, yeah,
Rather,
yeah,
we do a fork, and then we develop something on top of it, and then we make it better somehow. We add a feature and we do all the things because they have the yeah, they can do it. Yeah, and you just
yeah, yeah, yeah.
explain it really well.
And as we know, like that PHP was originally developed for web development, right? But
Yeah,
in the right now we see that more than world's, I think more than 70% websites are powered by PHP. We can say that, and it's a very like if you are into web development, we can see that it's very easy to learn PHP. And right now PHP has web server built in. You can just write your code and serve it as a web language. In any other language you will need to learn a specific framework or need other tools, right? So PHP's main goal was that it was developed for web development, and nowadays with the popularity was like increasing, we see that many people ask that uh, for which purpose. Like still the newbies ask that they know that it is for web development, but sometimes they ask that why we learn PHP. And again some people ask that can we use PHP for other purpose like problem
yeah,
solving or any other
yeah, yeah.
applications. So what's your take on that?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, of course. I mean, yeah, PHP was built for the web, but
Yeah,
PHP uh, can work for anything that you want. You need to consider, of course, a disclaimer. PHP is not really good for if you are looking for some performance, high performance language that
yeah,
need to run some AI or something, that need to process graphics or whatever. I mean, no, you don't process graphics, but yeah, if you need to render, you need to do a lot of computation. PHP is not the best. Maybe Java might be way better for multi-threading, for example, or even I don't know. Whatever other languages. But anyway, for you can use PHP not only for web, but you can also uh, parse. You can do some logic. Some I don't know. For example, I've been doing last week. I was working in a. I was parsing a CSV. For example, you have a CSV with a lot of rows and columns, and they have certain logic between them, and you need to extract this logic and then render this logic some in a some really special case.
yeah.
And then there is a lot of logic there. You need to, like, you can do that task is just read a CSV and as an output, render whatever. And then you can do that in every language, but you can do that
Mhm.
in PHP as well, right?
Yeah.
You can do that. I actually, I did this very same task. I did it in Python last year, and it was really straightforward and easy. And this time, this year, this week, I decided to do it with PHP this week
Uh-huh.
because in my I did that kind of the same, but translated in PHP how it will look like, and it looks very nice and easy to see as well. Um, yeah, I think there is also some PHP AI libraries. I think if you go to PHP AI in GitHub, you might see that there is a library from that. I don't know about the speed. Maybe with
Mhm.
the upcoming versions is gonna get better. But yeah, I would say that yeah, you can use PHP as a you can use it as a it's basically more like a procedural or an OOP language, and you can use it as I use it as a Java. You can use it as a Java, for example.
Yeah.
It's not strict, but you can make it strict, so you can get the beneficial from it. Yeah, you can use it for funny purpose. There is you can use it as a command line as well. You
Mhm.
can just provide an input, run a command, do whatever, a cron job, for example, and then you have an output, and you put it in some error log, whatever. Or so yeah, it's not only for the web specific. It was the main goal was the web, and the main purpose right now currently is the web. But you can use it for anything. Input output at the end.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I agree. Like there's I question I can see that a couple of people ask that whether we would use PHP for like interview preparation, problem solving, or algorithmic solution or not. I think it's depends on the person that actually how you want to
Mm.
solve the problem, and language just an abstract that or tool that you can use to solve the problem. So it depends on your need or your motivation or goal, I would say. Then you can use any language you want. But I think there's another thing, the audience or the people who are interested in algorithm or data structures try that. PHP doesn't come with like most of the implements of data structures or algorithms, but it gives you room that you can use the primitive data types to make your own data structures and algorithms, and you can try out those things. And if you check, like there's a project on GitHub, its name is like PHP data structures, and it's available as
Hmm.
an extension also. There you will find that like most of the popular data structures are implemented for PHP. So if you can also look or you want to use the popular data
Okay.
structures, you
Hmm.
can find it in PHP or use this extension. So that's
Yeah, I have
also,
an answer. I have an answer for this point.
yeah,
I like the anonymous question here,
yeah,
even though it has no thumbs up, sad. But I think I have a I have a point of view here. Is about
yeah,
should we use PHP for our interviews preparation? Well, this is the what I have done so far in the interviews that I have done is we don't well we should we should split if the guy is coming for is going to join. Let's say if the person is joining a company to develop PHP, then
Yeah.
it could be nice if he can show his PHP skills somehow, right?
Yeah.
But we should not focus only on the skill as the PHP skills, but the which architecture does it use, right? Does it use?
Yeah.
So actually, for if you, for example, does a, an interview, right? I mean, you can do an interview. You can use some pseudocode to solve the task somehow.
Yeah.
Where the language doesn't really matter, you can just ask, okay, I have this problem. How would you solve it? Right? You don't need to use. You can use whatever language you want, even none of them. Just pseudocode. Just tell me with your word how would you solve it somehow, right?
Yeah.
And then the
Just
person can
pseudocode.
describe
Yeah.
you. Exactly. You don't need to write the function with the real. You don't need to have even an ID. You just need to block a text block or even something to write, right?
Yeah.
Just
Right.
write the steps and how would you, because the important thing here is how would you think about the problem in order to solve it? How would you split the problem into smaller problems so you can get the answer? Because at the end, if you have a problem which is really huge,
Yeah.
it's super hard that you will gonna find the perfect match answer where everything is. But if you have a problem and you try to split it in small problems, and then
Yeah.
at some point the problem is going to be so trivial that you are going to get the answer super quick. So if you do this recursively, you are
Yeah.
going to get the answer of the whole problem by splitting the problem. So in this case, PHP is a detail of the implementation. Let's say doesn't really matter. The important thing about that question is about the logic problem. How would you solve a logic problem? It
Yeah.
doesn't really matter which language as far as you know how to solve it. So obviously, if you are gonna join, you need to think that okay, one thing is the language itself has some
Yeah.
syntax and has some philosophy and is works in some certain way. Java does the same in their way. Whatever. If you are gonna join a company that they are looking for some PHP developer, okay, is they are you need to prove that you have PHP skills.
Yeah.
But most importantly, you need to prove that you know
Solve a
how to
problem.
solve a problem, independently from PHP or not.
Yeah. If like
That's how I see.
yeah, I agree with you. Like first, they will try to find out that what's your problem solving skills, how you cope up
Exactly.
with problem, and what's your problem solving thinking, how you think about a problem, and how do you find out the solutions. And then it comes to the language or tools that the company uses. Then if you want to work as a PHP developer, then it's better to let them know that yes, I have some PHP experiences. If they use any other language, then it might be helpful if you know about those languages, right?
Yep.
So yeah, then I want to ask you one question, that like those who are new and they want to learn PHP well, or I would say in a very like the right way, do you have any suggestions for them, like for the people who want to learn PHP very well? What should be their path?
Yeah, that's a good question. That's a good question. I will say them first, let Java and then PHP.
Okay,
I
so
will
they should
say, I
learn a
will
like
say,
object oriented programming language first.
yeah, I will say so. Because when you when you go to PHP directly,
Yeah.
I mean, first of all, it will be the best if you go to the school and then you learn it. But if you, I mean, but there is another opportunities, and there's people maybe they are wondering if they want to start this work, they want to start this way.
Yeah.
Of course, yeah, they could. And actually, I will suggest, okay, first of all, I would suggest to go to YouTube and
Mhm.
look for tutorials, and they will find plenty and thousands of videos and great courses there. I can
Mhm.
recommend them. We can recommend after some links,
Yeah.
and they should watch this, and they should start. Not necessarily Java. Was a bit a joke. There are thousands of PHP courses, and yeah, so they will learn basically mostly. I will say mostly what they learn is the syntax and a bit of the philosophy of the language. To learn the philosophy of the language, you need, I think, you need a lot more than just YouTube video tutorials. You need to really, write it. You need to really make your hands dirty on PHP. You need to really go deeper. You need to really use Stack Overflow as your Bible. You need to really uh, follow the developer of PHP in Twitter. You need to be on the trend. You need to be on the flow of the ecosystem. Let's say. What I said before about Java, I think there is a reason why I say that is because when you write PHP, you can write PHP as you want. There is no limit. Unless you put unless you define strict types at the very beginning of the file, you can do whatever you want. There is really no PHP will do whatever you really say. There is no I mean, there are some, of course, some syntax restrictions, but about regarding other things, you can do whatever really you want with the types and the object, the functions, the variables. You can do what you can overwrite any order. You can do a lot of dirty things and dirty hacks. So with Java, you cannot do that so easy. In Java is really more strict, and in Java, everything is an object except the primitive types, but everything's an object. So you need to declare define the type of the object, and then you need to create the new instance, and then you cannot. So in Java, it's more you have to do it in some way that PHP will allow you to do it somehow. And then if you get to the habit of doing the PHP way that you can do everything you want, however you want, then maybe you are missing some discipline that Java can provide to you. And this is why I say, because at the end is the same. At the end is OOP. At the end, in the paradigm of this Java and PHP nowadays is the same. I remember when I came from Java, I came to PHP, I had no trouble at all. It was really, literally once you know Java, let's say, you know the basic of Java, classes, the way of the philosophy, let's say, of Java. PHP is the same completely. I mean, it can be the same or it can be way worse. And so to avoid this way worse scenario, that's why I encourage and I tell you, hey, learn Java, because you will get the fundamental of the language of Java, and then you apply them to PHP, and then your PHP will be cleaner somehow by default. Doesn't need to necessarily be cleaner, but it will help you somehow to be cleaner because you have some strict typeness in your mind somehow, and then it will help you certainly. It did to me, and maybe to you not, but my recommendation is that.
Thank you. I would also like to add that if you want to learn PHP fast, what you can try is try a pure object-oriented programming language like Java. That will give you, or at least clear the idea of object-oriented programming, why we actually need object-oriented programming, and the best practices for it. And then if you come to PHP, you will see that PHP gives you lots of I would say flexibility, but at the same time you also need to stick yourself with the best practices and the best principles. So at that time it will be much easier to apply those things. And I've shared a website link here, that phptherightway.com. Here you will find out some good resources, that what are the best practices, and there's also some practices that you should try to avoid. So people, you can visit this link and try that one. And Chema, I'll get back to you that I know that you try to solve problems using PHP and other languages, and it helps you to maybe develop your logic skills, problem solving skills. So here one guy asked that how to improve my logic area in PHP. Let's say that they don't have a very good background in competitive programming, they just started in web development or learn the language PHP. So what will be your suggestion to them so that they can improve their logic area?
Yeah, I have one answer. I would recommend him to learn different languages, not getting to the. If you want to improve your logic part of the brain, and you want to get better in PHP, I will suggest you to learn different paradigm, different languages. So then you can really explore the. You can. You, I think you will open inconsciously. You will open some doors in your brain that it will allow you to think in a way that you didn't even think about that before. For example, and not because mentioning there are because we are now talking about imperative languages, but there are declarative, functionals, and some paradigms that are really different way of thinking, right? They are, for example, I don't know, Prolog. Prolog is really different than Scala or PHP, right? They are, or Ruby. And Ruby and Python are really mostly the same, really similar, but then they are really different from Haskell. So you don't need to be really, I would not say that you need to be a professional with these languages, but I think if you learn the basics of some of them, which are really different between each other, because it doesn't really matter if you know, okay, I know Java and I know PHP. I'm a polyglot already. No, you are not. You can speak this. It's like speaking, I don't know, speaking Italian and Spanish. I'm from Spain. I don't speak Italian, but I can understand it, right? So I could speak Spanish with an Italian friend who is speaking Italian, and we can understand each other because we are talking different languages,
like
but the understanding that is really the same. Exactly. But you need to talk like it's like talking Spanish with a German. This is really different. Or with so you need to learn German, a little bit of German, and then you need to learn also a little bit of Spanish coming from India, for example, right? And then you will know a lot of your brain will open a lot of doors that you don't even know that they are there.
Opening.
And yeah, exactly. So by saying this, I can actually recommend a book that I'm reading right now, and here it's here actually is this book, 7 Languages in 7 Weeks. I am in the 3rd week right now. The book is really interesting. I bought it like some time ago, but I didn't have time to read it. But now I started like last month, and I'm reading like every week. I focus in one new language, and this week I started with Prolog. I'm finishing today Prolog actually, and it's really interesting that it's a language which is based on logic, and it's a declarative language that is just based on logic. You don't say how to solve the problem. You just really say what are the constraints and the facts and the rules, and then you got the solution. And it's really different mindset that is really. I think it's being a polyglot somehow. At the end, understanding at least the basics is helped you a lot certainly to be better even in your main language. In my case, I'm a PHP developer, but I like to learn from these different languages, the basics of Go, for example, also the basic of Haskell. I want to learn them. I will actually in a few weeks with this book. But I'm talking about, of course, a week of knowledge of another language. It doesn't provide you the enough knowledge to be professional of that language, but it will for sure open this knowledge. And I think this is the key to be better and improve in your logic domain. In how can you solve problems? Because the point here is if you see a problem with only your eyes and you don't improve this point of view and you only see from one point of view, then your logic area is not gonna get better. I mean, it's gonna get better if you solve a lot of problems, but if you only solve it from one side, then okay, it's gonna take more time. But if you learn different point of views, how to attack the same problem, then you are gonna see the problem way better. You're gonna see the real shape of the problem, and then you can even use another language or apply some things that you learn in one language that you can apply in yours that you didn't know that you could, right? So it's about you need to improve that. You need to improve that in terms of you need to know the unknowns that you have in your brain, let's say, and this can help you certainly.
Yeah, I really agree with you. Like that, when you are too focused on one language, you are only like thinking in single direction. But when you at least learn couple of other languages, you get to know that what this language like provides better than the first language. What's the pros? What's the cons? And this also helps you to like choose a language when you try to solve a problem. You will need understand yourself that yes, this language provides this in a better way, so I may choose this one, or this language is better for that problem, I may choose that one. So it's become much easier to take decisions and explore lots of other like variations of solving a problem. I completely agree with you. Yeah.
Apart of what I said, I think it's also important to be aware that repetition makes the master.
Yeah.
So is it true that you should be aware of the basics of some other languages
Yeah.
that we will help you? But of course, you should not forget that you should uh, persist and try to repeat and read and copy
Yeah.
uh, some solutions that are right there, right? In
Yeah.
PHP, in this, for example, about some problems that are common problems, some
Mhm.
katas, for example, and some practices that are well known. You should be aware of them and you should repeat them. You should repeat them and then you should. That's how you improve by repetition. You cannot just get it better by doing nothing. This never worked, right? This was never the case. You cannot get
Yeah.
better from one to another without doing anything. You cannot. If you do anything, you cannot expect improvement. That's the
Yeah.
point. So if you want to get it better, you need to do the same 100 times.
Yeah.
So that's how you get better. In this case, if you want to get better about logic problems, I suggest go to Google, search for uh, a basic logic problem in PHP, not in PHP, in whatever language, OOP, for example, and then try to do by yourself, try to copy the solutions that are there, try to understand them if they are completely new for you, understand them and why. This is very important. Every line that is there, why is there and what is doing,
Mhm.
and then try to look for the same exercise solved by another person, and then another
Mhm.
solution,
Yeah.
and then is where you see these different point of views. Even we are talking about PHP, the same problem. I have seen it in a lot of different ways, and
Yeah.
because there are different ways of solving the same problem. And the important thing here is that you should be aware that there are a lot of different problems, so you can choose the best that fit for your specific purpose in your context. And to learn this, you need to repeat. You need to do it a lot, and you need
Yeah.
to want to get better.
Yeah, yeah, I agree with you. And there could be another good thing you like the guys can follow is that you need to like study or explore other people's codes, and you can do
Yeah,
that in GitHub, that to see that how they are doing or solving a problem. You try out your own way, and you try to understand from other people's codes that how they are doing it, and this will give you or increase your knowledge more and more. You will find out lots of other solutions that are available in the world. I agree with you.
definitely.
Yeah, so our next question is like, I know that in your team and in our company, we try to actually strictly follow some best practices, write clean code, we do peer review. So yeah, I want to ask you like, what are the rules, steps you follow to make your PHP code cleaner and make it like good or well architectured?
Well, here I need to suggest that you need to buy and you should read clean code. That is a must. This
Mhm.
book is not a Bible. This book is a compilation of really good, well fundamented recommendations. These recommendations goes from write small functions or write descriptive names,
Yeah.
or write or split the code in a way that it makes sense and is get easy to read. So the books provide you let's say it provide you a lot of tools, a lot of
Like
good tools
tips.
that help you, that keeps your code exactly. Yeah, keep your code really well understandable. Because at some point you will get to that code back later, right? And depending on the context and depending on the task, it may be make sense to write in a way or the other way, because we already said that you can write it in thousand different ways to solve the same problem.
Yeah.
So this book will help you to give you the fundamentals of this knowledge. And you should not apply the knowledge that you will get from this book just blindly, but you should be aware of these rules and apply them accordingly to your present and your context, right? So I think this book is a must, because you will get that knowledge that nobody before told you in with that quality, let's say. And because it's, as I say, it's a compilation of good quality and understandable rules, but not just, let's call rules recommendations, right? They are not rules that they need to follow every time, everywhere,
Like
for the sake of
recommendation.
following,
Yeah.
but they are there for you, let's say. So if you want to write, if you want to write clean code in any language, not PHP, in any language, I think this book, which is actually the examples are in Java, is a perfect suite for it.
Okay, so like from the book, I can know about the recommendations, rules, or tips, and then I can try to like follow those in my codes. So, is there any tools available, or do you like use any tools that can also help us to follow these rules strictly while we write code or develop our application?
If there is any tool for it,
Yeah, like
well, yeah, I have
fixtures,
this.
linters, this kind of things that can help me
Okay,
to
well, yeah, yeah.
follow those rules.
Yeah, we have, well, but this is more, okay, here you can see someone is sharing my GitHub, one repo,
Yeah.
which is PHP best practices. I am compiling there the best practices that I find myself in order to write not just clean PHP, but also how to deal with, how to work, uh, how to improve the teamwork, right? And
Yeah.
and your personal skills. And so, okay, how to put it in this way? Let's talk about technical skills here,
Yeah.
or technique. No, um, let's put about
Like
teamwork,
first,
team skills. What do you want?
okay.
What do you
So
want
first,
to?
I want to know like that I get to know the rules. So while I am writing code, I want to make sure that yes,
Okay,
I am mostly following the rules. And later, maybe it comes about that when I work in a team, how we can make sure that yes, the team is like maintaining the same kind of rule
okay.
sets.
Okay, yeah, yeah, this is pretty clear. It's about agreements here. We are talking about agreements because working a team is a completely different story than working alone.
Yeah.
Working alone, you can do whatever you want. Working in a team, you do need to get agreements, and you need to avoid stupid or annoying or non productive score
Yeah.
discussions. By doing that, for example, the very basics is about to have a code fixer, automatic fixer,
Mhm.
styler. For example, in PHP,
We have PHP, CS fixer, this kind of things.
so if you put it really strict, I mean, you put really all the rules that are there possible,
Yeah.
pretty strict. The same as PHP unit, for example, has. I really like it
Mhm.
as a default because it has everything basically.
Yeah.
It's really good because you can write whatever you want, the style in your
Yeah.
code, however you want. But at the end, before committing, even you can do a GitHub to prevent
Oh,
you to commit something that doesn't pass the fixer. You need to run. You need to run the fixer to fix the style, just the style. For example, a comma in the last array item, for example, or using four tabs, four spaces or two spaces, for example. I don't know, or where do you want to put the empty line or a new line after a function name, something like this. So these little details that might make noise in the pull request. These little things should not be a part of the conversation, in a pull request, for example. When you work in a team, when you work with a team, these grammar, syntax differences should be already been solved in the fixer itself. The PR should be more, and also in the PR, the bugs should have been covered in the test. So the PR is not about bugs. In my opinion, it should not be about bugs. It should not be also about style. The PR should be about sharing the changes and the architecture changes that might have the app, that might have been done by the author, right? So why you have changed something there? Not about the style again, not about the bugs again. It's about that maybe you wasn't aware about something. That I am, for example. So I shared you, hey, don't do it that way, do it that way, not because of style again. Style should be already be covered in the styler. I'm really, and also about the bugs. Also, I don't think so. It's not about the place to find bugs should be already been taken before by writing test. The PR is to share the knowledge and share the changes, and that's why. So usually what it happened to me before in some companies before that we spent a lot of times discussing things in the PR, and we were wasting a lot of time because we were just discussing about style in the code, right? Some really unproductive discussions. So at some point, then we agree on creating some repository where we could write down the agreements that we came. So that's the next point. So the fixer they will help you to agree on the style. So everybody has the same fixture, the same style fixture. So everybody will have the same style. And then a part of this, then there are things that the fixer cannot get. For example, variable names, for example, or how do you write your architecture? How did you name your classes? Not only about naming, how did you put the classes in which directories, or how did you make there the inheritance, for example? These changes these things cannot be agreed on the fixer. You need to just talk, and you need to.
And it depends on the problems you are solving or the parts of the applications you are working on.
You need to agree on something, exactly. And then by that, you need to get an agreement. So problems will appear there, and not no problem, but disagreements. But at the end, you need to, as a team, you need to collaborate and find agreements, even when you are not always 100% happy with them, but the rest of the team they are. You need to accept it, as they need to also when they are not on the flow, on the agreement flow with everyone. So the team at the end is moving in one direction, because what happens usually is when some team people are working in the same problem, but they are working in their own completely different way. So they are people who are working. The same problem is this thing, and they are working in this direction, and then another one in this direction, and at some point they don't meet each other, right? So if they have the same problem, they should focus on the same in the same way to the same problem, because they should look for the best that they can claim.
Yeah, I agree with you. So if I want to continue these discussions after the fixers, the recommendations or best practices, then if we go into more about solving the problem, then comes the design patterns, solid principles, these kind of things. So can you let us know that how we can make use of these patterns and principles to make our PHP code better, efficient, and manageable, or how much it depends that we should try to follow these patterns or principles?
Well, the same patterns. There are pretty. There are some books really interesting about that. Actually, well, first of all, you need to understand when and how to use them. You cannot also,
Yeah,
for the sake of using patterns, because you
yeah, right.
already know them and you are cool and you need to solve an unknown problem, right? Because the same problem is happening, so then a pattern came to solve this such a problem. So you need to be aware of this. So first of all, I would say learn, read some books or learn these patterns that are out of there. So you will have it in your brain when they need to come up. Think about apply them or not. Usually there are plenty of patterns there that are really interesting.
Yeah.
Like for example, repository pattern, and also really interviewing a question is about singleton pattern that
Mhm.
you need to be aware of, and you need to say not only what is it, but if it is good or bad. And the important thing here is about it's not about if it's good or bad, but when is good and when is bad. Um, yeah, you should learn some patterns, some or most of them or whatever, and then you will be able. Yeah, here is the repository pattern.
Mhm. Yeah.
The next question is about repository pattern.
Yeah, like here, like how we
Yeah,
can
so yeah,
apply this pattern and how we can make our controller light. Like we have a thing that we should keep our like thin controller, this kind of uh, recommendations. So yeah, if you could tell something more about
yes.
this.
Actually, yeah, repository pattern is basically to extract the database, the database from the detail, let's say. So instead of um, you can actually create a repository pattern in Laravel, but by default it's coming from in Symfony. You have repository by default. Repository pattern is there by default in Symfony
Yeah,
philosophy. In Laravel, in the other hand, is not. In Laravel,
it's
as far as I
ORM
know,
by default.
uh, by default, the ORM that they have is Eloquent and this active record. So
Yeah,
the difference is that they don't have a repository with entities, but they have the the they don't have entities. I think these active record models. They are models extending
the models. Yeah.
from Eloquent base. They load the they have the model, right? And but yeah, but about the in which scenario we need a repository pattern, I will say wherever you want to connect to the database, don't from the is not the place to connect to the database.
Yeah.
I will say the controller should be as stupid as possible. The controller should take the request and pass the request to the person who has the knowledge, whatever they need to do. They need the business logic, right? The controller
Mhm.
they need to know which business logic should I apply, and then pass the values that I got from the request to that business logic. The business logic should do the use case or business logic should do whatever they need to do, and then return from that input, and then the controller return a response with the values that received from the business logic, this whatever.
Mhm.
In this case, the controller is just as thin as possible, and you don't mess it. You don't because at the end, when you write the business logic in your controllers, more business logic is coming there because usually you rarely refactor that controller. I have seen really huge, and I'm sure almost all of you guys watching, I've seen really huge and big, fat controllers with thousand of lines
Yeah.
because they were factoring is another maybe later we'll talk about that. But when you put the logic there, at some point you get more logic and you put it there again and you put it there again. At some point you become stuck in this 2,000 lines of controller business logic, and then when you need to reuse it somehow somewhere else, then you need to copy paste it, of course. And then you have the same mess twice, and then that's how this thing came. Oh my god, I'm just remember some. So the right controller is that try to make the controller as stupid as possible and encapsulate the business logic somewhere else.
Like services or classes, like factory service classes.
Or just try to use some deep in knowledge structure where you. I mean, actually, talking about that, I have a recommendation for you. I know there is a person really even before. This person, I have attended his workshop in Berlin 2 years. That really really web application architecture. He's not only this, but even deeper. I mean, this person is really clever. And he well, how to explain it? Way to define the architecture of your system. And this is the new book he's writing. I think it's half of it is written already. The Advanced Web Application Architecture. I bought it already, a copy.
Yeah.
And it's really
Yeah. So we can move to another questions. Like, we know that the balance between programming problems and the technology you are working on is needed. So can you just share us like that, how much percentage of your daily time you want you actually like spend for programmatical problems or technological problems, and how we can balance between these two?
What does it mean here about programmatical problems and technological
I
problems?
think
It's about
programmatical problems means maybe competitive programming, problem solvings. Technological problems maybe meaning like the kind of you are working on mostly into the technology or tools oriented problems.
I think it's more about programmatical problems. I would say it's eight. I think it's 80-20. About technological problems, I don't really. I would say it's 20%. And the problem solving is about 80%.
Okay. Okay. So we can take like take the next question that he says like that he has been working with PHP for 2 years now, and what other skills he need to develop to be a good software engineer. Like maybe he was too focused only on PHP as a language or working with web development, but we know that to be a good software engineer you need to know or like have knowledge about lots of other factors. So how these kind of people can like improve their skills to be a good software engineer?
I have the answer. And
Yeah.
I think you know it already. It's testing. You need to improve your testing skills, my friend.
Okay, yeah, you can share some of your experience about like refactoring codes, how also like how testing can improve you as a engineer, also the system you are developing.
Actually, yes, I have actually. Well, I will say you should start learning about. I will and I don't have it here. I give it to my brother. I recommend you a book which is about its name, Working Effectively with Legacy Code. And this book is really well written, and it's basically about how can you work with legacy code. Is basically you need to test what you are changing, my friend.
Mhm.
Otherwise, you're gonna break it. So there are a lot of different testing tools or ways that you can use. For example, one of my favorite that I didn't forget, it was the characterization test. And for example, this is the test that you write, basically doing test first, that you write if you have a piece of code that you don't know and you don't understand what it's doing. So you write a test to verify that what the code is doing, basically. And then you will cover that part, and you can actually refactor that in order to improve it. So my suggestion, apart of reading that book, that I will, I don't know if someone already, I will post it later.
Uh-huh.
This book, refactoring and testing, refactoring. I think refactoring and testing is basically the topics that you need to focus on, and reading. There is also another good book about this. It's called Refactoring. I'm sure you have read it. You have heard about this from
Mhm.
Fowler. And I think there is also TD from Ken Bank. So yeah, you should focus on this. And these are these are the things that are going to improve your software skills.
Mhm.
That because once you know, it's okay and it's required that you know how to solve things. But the thing is that usually, mainly, our job is not just solving things, but maintain things. And in
Uh-huh.
order to maintain things, you need to keep them. You need to keep them. I don't want to say clean, but you need
Mhm.
to keep them in a way
Mhm.
that you can change them in the easiest way as possible. Because think about that, you are going to write things and you need to change them in order to update it because the business is updating all the time. And in order to change these things, you need to consider that you are going to be, you or your teams or your future self,
Mhm.
you are going to change these things again and again. And in order to change and don't break them, you need to have some tests covering this logic. And
Uh-huh.
you need to be able also to refactor these things that you have changed, you are changing all the time. You need to refactor as part of your daily job, because refactor at the end just means improving.
Mhm.
It can be a name that you just came the next day. You just came with a better name, and why not? Just actually nowadays with the IDs that we have, PHP Storm, for example,
Yeah.
is the best ID I know for PHP, and luckily for all of the other languages that they cover. These guys are crazy. They are doing really a good thing. These
Mhm.
IntelliJ people. So with this, it's really trivial. It's a trivial task to rename a variable, to rename a function, to rename a class, to extract some piece of code into a private function. These
Mhm.
things are really trivial. Before it wasn't. Now it's so trivial that this is stupid to do not do it. So I would say that you guys at the at the very beginning, when you are starting with the software engineering thingy, you need to learn how to solve problems, basically. But after the first or second year, I would suggest you strongly to focus on improve your refactoring and testing skills, because they are
Mhm.
really important. They are the difference. They will make the difference between some people who just write code and people who really care about what they are doing. So it's up to you.
Mhm. I agree with you because, like, when you are only writing codes, there could be many times that the code is not efficient, and when you make changes into a big system, there's no way without like manual invention or intervention you can check that whether it's breaking your code somewhere or not. But as long as you are like testing and all of your components, parts of codes are like properly tested, it's become much easier also to refactor, because without testing, properly testing like done in your project, it's become much tougher to refactor. You refactor somewhere and you don't know that how much impacts it's gonna have throughout all your system. So I really agree with you that refactoring and testing really go along with each other, and it's a really good way to make yourself better.
Mm.
So yeah.
Actually, I wrote an article about this.
Yeah,
Just
yeah, yeah,
closing the topic. I wrote an article recently, I think 1 or 2 weeks ago, about testing and quality in software, and you can read it in my Medium
yeah. I'm
account.
sharing
I
it
will
here.
say it's called "The Art of Testing," where design meets quality.
Mhm.
And basically, what I'm saying here is that when something is easy to test, it means that it has a good design. So
Yeah.
basically, when you have here, uh, okay, software quality, but what is software quality? So I didn't know that until some it some years ago, or some a year or two ago, when I really was more like, okay, wait a moment, okay, I think now I know why, because I know that this is a concept that I'm hearing
Mhm.
from everywhere and from everyone. It's about software quality, and everyone is saying that software quality, blah blah blah, software quality, blah blah blah. Clean code yes, clean code no. Refactoring yes, refactoring no. Testing yes, testing no. And these are I heard this from a lot of different people from different backgrounds, and
Mhm.
you end up thinking like, what the fuck is software quality at the end? And I think I got the conclusion, and basically is when you need to when you when your code basically is easy to be proof,
Mhm.
then it has a good quality. That's it. If you can prove that the code is doing what you are saying that it does, then the code quality is high. If you cannot prove, if you cannot test some piece of software, then the quality is just not good.
Mhm. I agree. Oh, so I have shared the like Medium blog for of Chema. He has
Okay.
written some very good articles there. So I think it would be a very good resource for the people who wants to know more about refactoring, testing, and what's actually it's been done in software engineering environments. It would be a very good resource. And now I want to ask like Chema one questions to you,
Yeah.
that like there are lots of technologies tools coming up every day in the software engineering arena. So how do you like cope up with these new tools, technologies? Don't you get like overwhelmed by these technologies, and if so, like how do you deal with that?
It's a really good question. Yeah. I will say I'm really active in Twitter, and I
Mhm.
am really I like to I will suggest to follow some people, like for example the Matthias
Mhm.
Novak that I mentioned before, or
Yeah.
Sebastian Berman, the
Yeah.
PHP unit author, also Derek Retans, which is the bug author, or Ken Beck and Marty Fowler, or even I really like Marco Pivetta or Cramius. Is love from some and hate from others. Hate from others is I really like him. Even I don't know him personally, but I really like what he writes. So I'm really aware of what is happening in the ecosystem, in my ecosystem. Let's say I'm not really I'm aware that that a lot of things are happening
Yeah.
about a lot of languages. There are tons of languages, different tools, different libraries, thousands of libraries in thousand languages. So you should not be trying to get them all because you can't.
Yeah.
You need to focus. You need to know you need to set a goal for yourself. What do you want and when? And so you need to plan a little bit and then work on it. So you
Mhm.
cannot just say, okay, I'm gonna learn everything from now on, and it's impossible because at the end you are not gonna learn anything. So
Mhm.
I suggest you need to focus. You need to clear be aware what do you want, what is your goal, and then focus on it and work on it. So um, you cannot pretend that you are gonna learn, for example, 7 languages in 7 weeks, so I can work with any of this
Mhm.
language
Yeah.
at the end. I cannot, right? It's like
Mhm.
this book, for example, is not gonna provide me the enough knowledge to be a professional in any of these languages. But because the book is for another purpose. So if you want to be a PHP professional, for example, you need to really have these little improvements for the brain, but you need to focus on PHP and Java, or Java, as I said before, or both, because they are the same. But I already explained before what are the good and the pros and cons for each of them.
Yeah.
But you need to focus there, and you need to learn the the foundation. You need to learn about how Composer works, for example,
Mhm.
and you need to learn some basic libraries that are the most common, let's say. And after
Mhm.
learning the foundations, then I would say learn some main player framework like Symfony or Laravel, and
Mhm.
then be good at one of them, for example. So I would say learn both the basics and then be good in one of them. Laravel, for example, really easy to start. Symfony now is also super easy to start. Before it
Yeah.
was a nightmare, but now it's super easy
Mhm.
as well. So play with both of them because they are really similar at the end. And then master one of them,
Mhm.
right? And if you master one of them, you will find a job really easily, because these guys, these Laravel and Symfony, they are the best, the highest uh, players in the market nowadays.
Yeah.
Almost every company use them because for a reason. They are really easy to use. Um, and yeah, if you master one of them, then keep focus on them, and follow the trends and follow what they are doing, follow
Mhm.
what the authors are doing, what the community is doing.
Yeah.
And a part of this focusing, then learn other things. Don't stop reading or learning other things, but
Mhm.
focus on one of them. I will say then, focus like 70%, 60, 70%. No, I will 70% focus on, let's call it Symfony or Laravel. Focus your time and your being human being resources, like 70% of Symfony in this case, and the other
Yeah.
30% in other matters, in other things. They are gonna they are gonna be beneficial for yourself, for your knowledge, for your grammatical skills, for your
Yeah.
well-being. But focus really on one, and then you will master it.
Yeah.
Learn testing and refactoring, and go for it.
Yeah, I agree with you because like sometimes you need to completely focus on the thing you want to learn. You need to give lots of times, have patience, and keep practicing it. Explore new things that coming up with this technology, because in technology world we know it's moving fast and lots of new things are coming up. So it's always you have to like keep learning, keep focusing, and just keep doing it, because there's no other way like you can be an expert without doing these things. And I also agree with Chema that you have to maybe watch lots of tutorials, read books, reading articles, because it depends on person to person. Because some may learn some things easily from videos, some may learn by writing articles, some may learn by doing it. So you have to find out that what works best for you, and then you can choose that option for you. So Chema, we are almost at the end of this session. So we want to take actually one last questions that we can discuss, and it's about like microservices based architecture. And we know that nowadays this is becoming popular, and sometimes we kind of have word that what language to choose. Some say PHP, some say Go, some says maybe Node.js. So how do you think about these things, that how microservices architecture works, and how to choose the tool that will work for you?
Well, this is a really tricky question, and I'm not an expert of it. I'm not an expert at all, because this is a really thing that came into the trend, I would say 3, 4, 4. maybe 5, okay, or between 3 and 5 years ago, it
Yeah.
started to be a trend. And then everybody was saying like, oh, let's go to microservice. Everybody, let's go there. Let's go there. Um, Everything else is shit. Let's go just microservices, right? And then, yeah, no, it's not. I will say to go to microservices, you need to have a reason. And you
Yeah.
need to really you need to be aware of what is this first,
Yeah.
and what is solving for you, basically.
Mhm.
Does it make sense to spend the resources in going in that direction? Um, because going microservices is adding a complexity that maybe your company, because
Mhm.
yeah, when I say you, I'm saying your company, don't really need it, don't really need at all. Maybe it's not going to need any time, not
Mhm.
just anytime soon, maybe not anytime. So
Yeah.
why do you want to really spend these resources for the sake of the trend, right? um, so microservices are a really complex thing that not it's not also not strict for everybody, not for every company,
Yeah.
not for every business logic. um, I think I see like at the moment when your business is scaling,
Yeah.
uh scaling as crazy, and then I see that it might make sense when you face this craziness scaling, right? But
Mhm.
before that, I would not even bother. I mean, I would really care about that, about reading about it, learning the whys, the pros and cons. Um, I suggest that you will look for some Medium post that I didn't write one yet, but I would like to write soon one. But there are plenty of them.
Yeah.
Inform yourself about what is this, and don't just go for the sake of do things because the trend says that it's cool. At least not when there are money involved. For yourself and playing, of course, just do it. Just that's how you learn it, by repetition, as I said before. But yeah,
Mhm. Yeah, I agree with you. Like whenever like there's a kind of a term now in the technology world, like hype-driven development. There's something comes up, people gets it trending, and they starts using it without even knowing that whether this could be a like suitable solution for their problems. So it's
yeah,
actually at the end of the day, it depends on. If we say about the company or business, the mission and vision of the business, what kind of problems you are solving, and also at the end of the day it also depends on your team, that what's your team's skills are, what are your strengths, and according to that maybe you can decide the tools or technology you want to use. Because let's say that we want to choose Go language for solving a problem, but we see that in our team there's not enough Go developers, or we don't have any knowledge on Go, so we can just try out Go at the moment. Maybe we can try to improve our skills in Go, do some experimental projects beside our main goal or
yeah.
objective, and then maybe after 2 or 3 months we can decide whether this solution will
Go to
work for us
production,
or not.
exactly.
Right. Yeah, so this kind of like test and trial things goes on. And in most of the companies sometimes we try to do like inside tech talks, where we try to experiment these things. Someone shares their experience, that what they have tried, what's the outcome. And in some companies there's also like internal hackathons, maybe weekly hackathon days, where they can do this kind of things. So it's again, I agree with you, Chema, that it's the matters that uh, how you want to solve it and whether these solutions will work for you or not, and then you can decide. So yeah, we are almost at the
Exactly.
end of this session today, but I hope that Chema can join us in another session. Maybe there we can discuss more about something more like concrete about concrete topics, where we can share some technical knowledge, or Chema can share us some insights, what he is experimenting with, the outcomes. So here I am sharing the contact information of Chema. If any guys wants to read his blogs, you can visit these links. Here you will get almost every information about Chema. And if you need
Yep.
any suggestions, solutions, or feedbacks, you can also reach out to him. So Chema, we are at the end of this session. So to before we close up the session, do you have anything to say to the audience?
Thank you very much for the opportunity, basically. And yeah, try to, if you have any doubt about something, don't forget to ask Google first,
Yeah.
and then once you ask Google and then you didn't have the answer, then look for someone who might help you. Yeah, don't hesitate ever to write me or Sumon or whoever is behind.
Yeah, I agree with you. So because nowadays it has become like much easier to find out resources online, find out a mentor, because sometimes there's a time that you may don't understand anything, the resources doesn't make sense. It's always good practices to find out alternative resources. If the video you are watching it doesn't work out for you, maybe you can try out for a mentor. And when the mentor like maybe describe this that thing to you, it may become much easier. So you just need to find out the solution that works for you and keep going. So yeah, that
Yep.
makes us to like end this week's session. Next week we'll come up again with two more guests, and we hope that everyone who are attending these sessions, the sessions are being beneficial to them. So we hope that everyone stay home and keep learning and improving their skills. So from Classroom and Chema, we want to say everyone like have a it's almost night here, so have a good night and enjoy and keep learning. Thank you
Thank you.
everyone. Yeah.
Ciao.
Bye. Ciao.